Everybody's asking the question, what does this word neurodiversity mean and how does it relate to ADHD? ADHD affects 1 in 20 people, but ADHD is one of a number of neurodevelopmental conditions like dyslexia, which affects 1 in 10 people, autism, which affects approximately 1 in 60 people, dyspraxia, or developmental coordination disorder as it's also known, which affects approximately 1 in 20 people, dyscalculia, which is almost a bit like a number version of dyslexia, affects approximately 1 in 20 people, Tourette's and tics, which can start or stop at any point in somebody's life, but we know often frequently co-occurs with people who have autism or ADHD, but can appear on its own and in the form of Tourette's syndrome. So all of these different neurodevelopmental conditions fall under this umbrella term, and historically we've seen them as somehow being a disorder or defining somebody by what they can't do. And we now understand that all the research is telling us that if the prevalence is such that 1 in 20 people have ADHD and 1 in 10 people have dyslexia and 1 in 60 people have autism, then when you do the math, it means that 1 in 5 human beings have what in schools are called learning difficulties or even learning disabilities. But actually what's happening now, particularly in industry, is that there are many successful people who have dyslexia, autism, ADHD, who are chief executives, doctors, clinicians, scientists, researchers, university lecturers. And that's created a lot of conversation because in school, the term learning difficulty is often associated with children of low ability and low IQ. So we need to clear that up. Having dyslexia, having ADHD, having autism, having dyspraxia, dyscalculia does not mean you have a low IQ. It just means you have a brain that functions in a slightly different way. And in a neurodiverse paradigm, what we are saying is that from an evolutionary perspective, if 1 in 5 human beings have these brains that think differently, then there has to be an evolutionary purpose as to why. And it's a movement away from that 18th and 19th century idea that you all have to have a certain type of intelligence. Your intelligence can only be measured in a certain way. Your capabilities, your employability can only be measured in a certain way. In some respects, these are different abilities. That's not to say they don't come with challenges, because we live in a world where the majority of people do not have ADHD. 1 in 20 people have ADHD. We live in a world where the majority of people don't have dyslexia, but 1 in 10 people do. So a neurodiverse paradigm is about moving away from those D words like disorder and deficit, and actually understanding that it is part of the universal design that we have people who have ADHD and autism and dyslexia, that there is an evolutionary purpose and reason why we have people who think differently, that there is an evolutionary reason why every single person on this planet of 8 billion people has a brain and a nervous system that is as unique as their fingerprint. So we are now in this whole process of moving away from a conversation where we are defining people as disordered simply because they're different. And that's a very positive thing. So when we're talking about ADHD through the lens of neurodiversity, what we are saying is that we know that having ADHD can make you vulnerable to a number of problems like anxiety, depression, etc. But if it's understood and it's managed well, if in our schools we enable children to learn the way their brain learns and not try knocking square pegs into round holes by demanding that they learn in a certain way, that they sit still while they're learning when their body naturally needs to move in order to learn in a more effective way for their particular brain. What we're also now seeing is that in the workplace, we're recognising that the kind of neurology, the kind of brain that you have, if you have ADHD or dyslexia or dyspraxia or a number of those different types of brains, that actually we're recognising that there are people with those kind of unique intelligences and capabilities that thrive in certain roles and that are a real asset to businesses and organisations who have recognised that 1/5 of the workforce has one of these different brains, and that 1/5 of those customers that use those businesses or public services have those different brains, and that we actually need to embrace that difference and celebrate it and not label people disordered, but simply recognise that difference is good and that that difference is as much a part of the universal design as biodiversity is. So let's celebrate neurodiversity and enjoy and celebrate your uniqueness and your ADHD. And while for many of you that may be incredibly challenging, some days I hope that you have took some encouragement from a number of the people who've spoken to you on some of these videos about how they have learned to play to their strengths and lead a happy, healthy and successful life with ADHD.